Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. On behalf of Conflict and Resilience Research Institute Canada, I welcome all of you to this special screening of Pain and Peace, a powerful documentary that delves into the dangers of extremism and violence in our society. My name is Kausar Ahmed, and it's an honor to open this event, especially during the Peace Days here in Winnipeg. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge that we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota and Dene peoples, and the homeland of Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories, we acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. I would like to start by thanking fellow Rotarians and friends of Rotary who are present in the audience during this Peace Days festival, without whose support, along with Public Safety Canada's Community Resilience Fund, today's event would not have been possible. Peace Days is a remarkable initiative that promotes understanding, goodwill and compassion locally, nationally and internationally. It encourages conversations and relationships that inspire action and commitments towards positive peace through peace literacy. This event is a testament to our collective desire to foster a culture of peace and compassion. Dear audience, tonight's documentary, Pain and Peace, tells a harrowing yet inspiring story of Rice Bhuiya, a man who was shot in the face by white supremacists in the aftermath of 9/11. Instead of succumbing to hatred, Rice chose the path of forgiveness and reconciliation, embodying the very essence of peace and resilience. Rice's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. As you are aware, he was a victim of hate crime perpetrated by a white supremacist. Despite this, Rice forgave his attacker and led an international campaign to save him from death row. This profound act of mercy and his relentless pursuit of peace led to the founding of the not-for-profit organization that he leads, called World Without Hate. His story, chronicled in the book The True American: Murder and Mercy in Texas, and it was featured in the Emmy-nominated documentary series The Secret Life of Muslims, has inspired countless individuals around the world. The making of this documentary, Pain and Peace, was triggered by Rice's desire to understand the roots of hate and violence and to explore whether peace and forgiveness could prevail. Over the past year, he traveled more than 17,000 miles across North America with multi-Emmy award-winning filmmaker Mark Feijo, capturing deeply personal stories that highlight the transformative power of empathy and forgiveness. In recent years, North America has experienced significant social polarization fueled by hate and extremism by various social groups. This polarization has led to increased political violence, hate crimes, and a deepening divide within our communities. Arguably, it has also endangered social cohesion and created threat to democracy. Social media and partisan media outlets have often exacerbated these divisions, creating echo chambers that reinforces existing biases and animosities. This documentary is particularly relevant today as it addresses these critical issues, offering a message of hope and reconciliation in a time of widespread division. Creek leads the project called Extremism and Radicalization to Violence Prevention in Manitoba, which is housed under University of Winnipeg. This particular project, funded by Public Safety Canada, plays a crucial role in our community by educating against hate and extremism. This project was launched in 2021, and this is the year which will culminate the project's activities. Project ERIM engages educators, policymakers, and stakeholders in dialogue about the nature of violent extremism and radicalization, suggesting interventions to prevent such acts. This comprehensive approach emphasizes that extremism does not occur in a vacuum and requires a whole of society's approach to combat it. Project ERIM particularly encourages educators to join this initiative. Dear audience, as we watch this documentary, let us reflect on the importance of understanding empathy and proactive measures in preventing violence and extremism. Let us be inspired by Rise Bhuia's journey and the tireless efforts of organizations like ERIM and Peace Days to build more peaceful and just world. Now we'll hear from Professor Dr. Lloyd Kernan.
Thank you, Council. 4 minutes. When Kaiser first asked me a couple of weeks ago to say some words here, I was pretty reluctant. And so I brought other people's words with me. Because I didn't think I had the words that were, or could conjure the words that were required for the occasion. Kaiser wanted me to speak on my experiences working on this committee for the last 3 years on radicalization to violence and prevention in Manitoba. To be honest, it wasn't a pleasant experience. In fact, the first year I was completely overwhelmed because we heard stories of how young people across North America were radicalized to violence. And being a former high school teacher, I realized that the people that were radicalized to violence and extremism spent most of their time between the age of 5 and 16 in classrooms with people like me. And about that point, about a year in, I began to realize, oh, hang on, a lot of people don't find themselves living lives of extremism or radicalism. And I'm thinking, what is it that we teachers do right? We must be doing something right. And maybe we should be doing more of it. And here's my words from 3 other people. There's a hermeneutical phenomenologist, University of Edmonton, who has spent thousands of hours in high school teachers' classrooms, observing teachers. And this is what he says, and I'm quoting him directly. This is what's required of teachers. He says, the practice of teaching requires the improvisational tact of instantly knowing how to act in ever-changing situations, a sense of timing, immediately knowing what to do, what to say, how to present something, how to hold back, how to create the right tone, how to turn a text. Even a good lecturer demands that the lecturer knows how to sense the audience, how to initiate contact, how to gesture, what posture, what tone of voice, when and where to pause, and when to exchange a meaningful look. And then he goes on, he says, whether we like it or not, we know that everything, literally every little thing we do or don't do, has significance. And so I think the first thing we teachers, and speaking as a teacher of 24 years, high school teacher of 24 years, the first thing we need to do is take responsibility for how we are in the classroom. And that some of our most significant messages are sent by nods and gestures and meaningful looks. And the second thing is that when we have 30 or 35 people in a room, as students, or in this case, 12 people in a room of students, all of us come here, and all of the students in our classrooms come from different experiences. And the most effective way to teach, whatever it is you're teaching, is to find a way to link what you're saying to all of these different experiences so that people can see themselves in what it is that you're saying. And the most effective way of doing that speaking as a world issues teacher, is to get people to tell their stories. And this is what Maxine Green says of that. As individuals, and think of students, reveal themselves in their distinctiveness in the company of others, they become aware of their unique identity and are able to imagine what it must be like to be the other, to be attentive to the stranger. Out of this heteroglossia, she calls it, a common concern emerges, a community. So I think that's the second thing we as teachers do, and we ought to do more of finding ways to get people in our classes to tell their stories so that their experience links to whatever it is that we're teaching. And the third thing, the last thing, is I know this, we need to be present. We can't be thinking about anything other than the people that are in our classroom and their experiences. We need to be thoughtfully present, because that allows us to do what Peggy McIntosh says. She says, sometimes it is the heartfelt trust of a teacher in the worth of a student that produces a faith within the student that they are connected to the world in a way that matters, and that the world is worth caring about. Now, these three sets of words were all intended for teachers. And I suspect there's a message there for all of us. So thank you for giving us that.
Thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for that kind introduction. And thank you to all of you for taking the time on a Thursday afternoon to come and join us watching this documentary. Thank you for your time. Well, my name is Rais Buyan. I'm the founder of a nonprofit called World Without Hate. After graduating as a pilot officer from the Bangladesh Air Force Academy, I did not feel my destiny was there. So I left my job, home, and my family for New York City to pursue my passion studying in computer science. And a few months before 9/11, I moved to Dallas, Texas. A friend of mine invited me, and I was excited to see the cowboys, ranches, and bars with the famous swinging doors, though I did not find any. But I fell in love with the weather, with the lifestyle, and the tuition fee was cheaper, much cheaper than New York City. And I also started helping my friend who just recently opened a gas station. And 10 days after 9/11 terrorist attacks, as rescuers continued to search ground zero for signs of life, our country in deep mourning, and newfound fear and anxiety, we all faced, I began what would be my last day of work as a store clerk in Southwest Dallas. Around noon, a man walked in wearing bandana, sunglasses, baseball cap, and holding a sort of double-barreled shotgun, pointing directly at my face. From my previous robbery experience, I thought it would be another robbery. So I placed all the money on the counter and begged him for my life. I said, please take all the money, but don't shoot me, please. But his gaze remained fixed. And he mumbled a question, where are you from? And before I could say anything more than, excuse me, he pulled the trigger from point blank range. I felt it first, like a million bees stinging my face, and I heard the explosion, the gunshot. Luckily, I survived, of course. On my deathbed, I made a promise. On my way to the hospital, I made a promise to God that if He gave me a chance to live, I would help others. Eventually, I forgave my attacker, befriended him, and he ultimately renounced his hateful views and called me brother. As a result of this gunshot, I lost vision in one eye. I still carry more than 36 shotgun pellets on my face and skull. So when I touch, I can feel them. And with the rise of extremism, intolerance, hate, and violence, I asked myself, why people hate each other? Why there is so much hate, violence, and intolerance in our society? What is going on wrong? Why my attacker did not see me as a human being? Why he pulled the trigger? He did not know me, but he saw me as a lesser person. But why? So with the rise of all kinds of extremism, I questioned myself, all this why? And that led me to embark on a journey to understand more about where the visceral hate comes from, why people hate each other, how people find purpose and even peace through pain. And that led me to embark on a journey with my filmmaker friend, Mark Fraser. And we traveled 17,000 miles in 1 year all over North America. And we interviewed a few dozen people who were survivors of hateful violence and also perpetrators, the white supremacists, neo-Nazis, Proud Boys, jihadists, to understand their side of the story. What led them to embrace that kind of lifestyle? What went wrong in their life? Because they also have a story. As Professor just said, that we also need to tell people their story as well, because stories are powerful. Stories have the power to build bridges among people and communities, debunking myths and stereotypes, and prevent hate and violence. So that was our focus, to collect more stories, because I know what I went through, how I found peace and forgiveness in my life journey. But sadly, there are too many people out there who also went through similar experiences. So our focus is to collect those stories, share their stories, and find ways to prevent hate and violence, help each other to get beyond our bitter experiences, intolerance, hate, and violence. So with no further ado, let's take a look at the documentary. And after that, Dr. Kausar Ahmed and I will have a Q&A session to answer any question that you might have for us. Thank you for your time.